Think about a story you know by heart. Does it live in the sound of a voice, or does it sit silently on a printed page? Literature exists in both domains, as spoken word and written text, and observing how they collide reveals how stories actually work. To navigate this, we organize literary forms into four main pillars: drama, poetry, prose fiction, and prose nonfiction. Drama relies heavily on dialogue and is explicitly designed for live performance. Poetry operates differently. It builds its impact through dense imagery, strict rhythms, and precise meter. Then we have prose. We divide this into fiction, which includes imaginative stories like myths and novels, and nonfiction, covering factual accounts like news reports and biographies. Sorting these forms is the necessary first step to tracking how human expression crosses the boundary between ancient spoken traditions and modern written records. Before text, literature was spoken. Oral genres like folk tales and proverbs are communal forms of expression, built to be memorized, shared, and passed down through generations by the fireside. This image captures the setting for a dirge, a traditional song of lamentation and grief. These women, in black and red mourning attire, are part of a communal performance to praise and mourn the dead, a practice originally accompanied by speeches, tears, and bodily movements. Written genres, such as novels and biographies, capture narratives on the page. Poetry often bridges the gap between these two worlds. Consider Kofi Awuner's poem, The Weaver Bird. This bird and its complex nest provide the central visual metaphor of his work. Awuner's poem is a written form, locked into strict stanzas on a page. Yet it relies on the oral performance traditions of chants and lamentations to deliver its message about lost homes and defiled shrines. The line between oral and written literature is often blurred. As we see in Awuner's work, the rhythms and functions of spoken traditions can provide a foundation for written poetry, allowing ancestral voices to resonate within a modern structure. Let's pause here. Take a moment to actively compare one oral genre and one written genre. Consider how their physical form, their performance style, and their language intersect and diverge. One specific mechanism where genres collide and adapt is through parody. To see this in action, we start with a historical written text, Song of Hiawatha, authored in the 1850s by the American poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. A parody functions by taking a familiar piece of literature and mocking its original language, while strictly maintaining its exact rhythm and rhymes. Here is the modern Hiawatha. Notice the color-coded matching beats. By keeping the precise meter of Longfellow's original, but swapping contrasting words like inside and outside, the new version generates wit and humor entirely through structural repetition. A successful parody requires identifying the specific mechanics that make a piece of writing recognizable. By mirroring the original's rhythm while changing its intent, the parody highlights how a reader's experience is shaped by the underlying structure of the words. Mastering this intersection requires climbing a distinct hierarchy. The first step is recall, the basic ability to list and define examples of oral and written literature. The second step is understanding, having the capacity to coherently compare and contrast these forms in a written paragraph. The third level requires strategic reasoning. Here, you actively hunt for and cite specific evidence of oral forms hidden within written literature. Ultimate mastery demands extended critical thinking, where you conduct and present independent research on these literary intersections. To solidify this, you need to apply the knowledge experientially, form mixed ability groups, and challenge yourselves to enact a traditional oral form or write an original one-stanza parody. This concludes today's lesson. Continue observing the literary forms around you and consider how oral and written traditions connect. See you in the next class.